presidential moderator. It feels unusual to say this, but thank you for being re-elected last week. For those of you that are here for the first time, welcome. We have some new voters and some other new faces here. For those that are the same people we see all the time, thank you very much for supporting Georgetown, coming to town meeting. The purpose of town meeting is for the voters to approve or disapprove monies allocated to town departments necessary for their operation, as well as acceptances of mass general laws and requests or purchases of capital goods. Thank you. My role in tonight's meeting is to maintain order and handle the running of the meeting so that the voters may take care of the required business of your town in a fair and reasonable manner. It's my responsibility to see that anyone who wishes to speak or ask questions can be heard. I expect all speakers to maintain civility and decorum. We have emergency exits on both sides of the room here, and we also have emergency exits in the back. This is a vote of 707. Now, is Michelle Hughes here? Did I miss her? Okay, can you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. People that checked in tonight: Cynthia Carter, Star Anderson, Mr. Bagel, Sandra Brown, Joe Young, and Etta and Alan Holloway. So they are the staff working with us this evening. We have some non-voters here, and we have non-voters over here on the side, and we also have some that are sitting with the departments that they work for, or with the school committee and certain other places. So please raise your hand if I call your name. Glenn Smith from the water department. He's way in the back. Mary McMenemy, our town accountant. Jackie Como, Fire Chief Al Beardsley. Carol Jacobs, Superintendent of Schools. I'm over here, Peppa. Right here. Kevin Porter, Director of Finance and Operations for the schools. Dr. Donna Straight, who is the Director of Special Education. Steve Kujimski, who is our Conservation Agent. Howard Snyder, our Town Planner. Is he here this evening? Assessor Jay Ferreira. Rose Prevention, who works at the Assessor's Office. Bill DeRosa, who is the Superintendent of Whittier Road Tech. And Kara Cosmos, who is the Business Manager of Whittier. Are there any other people here other than in the, Colleen, I didn't even see you over there. And we have our library chairperson, Mr. Wallace. From the select board on stage, we have David Service, our chairman, Steve Smith, Stu Edinburgh, Gary Fowler, Town Clerk Jane Crane, and her assistant Kathy Roach, are also voters here at Georgetown. Non-voters on stage are Town Administrator Mike Farrell and Tom McEnany, who is representing the Town Council from Copeland and Page. We have some Finance Committee members down here in the front. You're going to see a lot of them tonight. We have our chair, Cindy Garrity, Robin O'Malley, Jim Lacey, Chuck Dixon, and Ed Doby, who is our newest member. We have some complimentary resolutions to do today.
We have a proclamation from Wayne Snow, who's retiring from the Light Department. Wayne, you here? Well, let me read the proclamation. Town of Georgetown proclamation. Whereas Wayne Snow has been an employee of the town of Georgetown for 37 years, 20 years as manager of the Light Department, and whereas the Light Department, under his direction, has increased its primary voltage from 4.16 kVs to 13.8 kVs, built a new substation, rebuilt the existing substation, moved the department operations to Searle Street, and whereas, to his dedication to the town, he has served on the Urban Roads Committee, Highway Building Committee, Capital Improvement Committee, and Energy Committee. And whereas he has served on and been an active member of the Erie 4 Volunteer Fire Department, Georgetown Kiwanis Club, coached Little League and soccer. And whereas he has been an active member of the New England Public Power Association, past president of the Municipal Electric Association of Massachusetts, member of the MMWEC Audit Committee, has received an Electrical Safety School in-service in-school award from former Governor Well. And whereas the town of Georgetown is extremely proud of and grateful to Wayne Snow for his dedicated service to the town. Now therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Georgetown, do hereby call upon all citizens to honor Wayne Snow, who has worked so hard to realize such great achievements. In witness thereof, the Board of Selectmen. Congratulations, Wayne.
Procedure for this meeting will be, I will call for a warrant article. I will then recognize the sponsor for the motion. Once the motion is made, I will wait for someone to second the motion. Each motion must have a second before we can have any discussion. Then I will ask for reports from the appropriate boards. Then we will ask for opening the floor for anyone to speak. If you would like to ask a question or you have something to say about any warrant article, please come and stand at either one of the microphones. And they are not turned on yet, so at some point they will be. And wait to be recognized. You must state your name and address so that the town clerk can keep a record. So in a loud voice, if you can make sure, because we cannot see faces from here as well as you can see us because of the lights. So you need to state your name and your address, please. Speak directly into the mic and facing in this direction. If you have questions, we will get them answered for you and make sure that you will get the information that you need. Under Mass General Laws 39, Section 15, I have the prerogative of deciding all questions of order, and relying on that, I can make ruling as issues of order come up. Only registered voters will be allowed to make motions. The only non-voters allowed to speak at this meeting are those that are directly related to warrant articles, to work for the town, petition sponsors, and business owners here in town. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt as a rule of this meeting a 5-minute speech limit during the discussion period of each article. Who was that? Chris Rich. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? This requires a 2/3 vote. Please use your ballots. All in favor? Thank you. Opposed? It carries unanimously. We have a full line in front of us. We actually have 2 warrants to work through. Our annual business meeting, town meeting, has been called to take care of the business for fiscal year 2014. But before we get to that, we do have a special town meeting to complete some financial business for the current year, 2013. There are 2 articles on the warrant. What's going to happen is I'm going to accept a motion and a second to adjourn this town meeting, the annual town meeting, which will reconvene right after we finish the special. We will open the special, we'll do those 2 articles, close the special, and then reconvene back here for the annual. So I need a motion to adjourn the annual town meeting at this time. Harry, thank you.
Second.
David? Any discussion? This requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed? And that's a unanimous vote. So I hereby call to order the special town meeting. Article 1. Jim?
Move that the town accept the provisions of Chapter 40, Section 13B of the Massachusetts General Laws establishing a reserve fund for the future payment of accrued liabilities for compensated absences due to any employee or full-time officer of the town upon the termination of the employees or full-time officers' employment, which shall become effective this fiscal year 2013, and to transfer from free cash $16,000 to be added to this reserve fund for the accrued liabilities for such purpose.
Thank you. I need a second. Second. A report from the Finance and Advisory Board, please.
The Finance and Advisory Committee approved this 6-0.
Thank you very much. Discussion. Would you like to explain what this is?
This is a fund that the legislature has allowed us to create to be able to pay people that have accrued sick time or vacation. In the past, we really had to find the money to pay people, and now they allow us to create a fund so we can plan for it. So that's what this is.
Okay. Any discussion? This requires majority. All in favor? Opposed? The vote carries. By majority. Article 2.
Move to amend the vote taken under Article 2 of the 2012 annual town meeting for the purpose of increasing line item 14231, snow and ice control expense in the fiscal year 13 budget, and as funding therefore, transfer from free cash the sum of $161,046.64.
Second statement. Thank you. Report from the Finance and Advisory Board.
Finance and Advisory Board approved this. The vote is 6-0.
Thank you. Would you like to explain this to senior here?
This is the money that the state allows us, the deficit spend for snow and ice. And this is the deficit amount that we're getting.
Okay. We have lots of snow and ice last year. This requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed? Passed by majority. We need a motion to close the special town meeting. Chris Rich? And I heard a second up there somewhere. This requires a majority. All in favor of closing the special town meeting? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Article 1. Report town offices and committee reports. We have one from the Finance Committee.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Chair of the Finance and Advisory Board, and we are pleased to present to you the budget and warrant article recommendations for the town for fiscal year 2014. We extend our deepest gratitude for all the hard work done by the various town boards and committees, as well as department heads on behalf of the Georgetown citizens. The cooperation with all departments working together for what is in the best interest for the town as a whole is something that we are truly fortunate to experience each year. This year, we held our budget meeting on Saturday with just about every department attending except for a couple of scheduling conflicts. While the day was long, we as a board felt it was an incredibly productive and educational process to have everyone in at the same time. Initial feedback indicates many departments like this process also. I would also like to extend thanks to the financial team at Town Hall. Mike Farrell, Town Administrator, Finance Director, Jack Como, Treasurer, Mary McMenamin, Town Accountant, and Janet Catano, Administrative Assistant, for taking on what some thought is a daunting task of upgrading the chart of accounts and the financial system. You'll see in your budget tonight that there are some changes to the chart of accounts. We're bringing it up to speed. The chart of accounts we had is very old, and this is unless you're an accountant bookkeeper, you probably don't know how daunting it was, but it really was, and we really appreciate the help in doing this. The proposed 2014 budget we are presenting is a balanced budget. Departments were tasked with presenting a request following these guidelines. Department positions salary increases, no new employees. Level funding for the operating expense of the budget, that means the same amount of money from last year, and any expenses that they want to increase they need to justify. Please keep in mind that many employees in Georgetown are also residents, so they too are taxpayers and have a unique perspective and respect when it does come to the budget process. While each department would love to have more funding, more office hours, etc., it is widely recognized by all departments that we must stay conservative in our approach to the budget process. Town and school departments continue to live within their means while providing the best services they can to residents and businesses within Georgetown, along with a fantastic education in some will call a small school district. For that, we thank them for the dedication to our community. One thing I did want to point out, and I did get to verify with Carol, when you come to town meeting, you come this way, and something every year I notice when I come in, if we have our meeting down back, there's a wall of all the students that are accepted to colleges. So we may have a small school district, but it is absolutely rewarding to see how many kids are accepted to so many schools. So give accolades to the school department because that's really, I hate to say it every year and I forget, it's just really wonderful. This year we asked to vote on a variety of articles for some long overdue CIP projects. In the past few years, the CIP operating line item was created to be part of the operating budget, in addition to a dedicated stabilization fund for capital improvement projects. This is a result of a joint effort by Capital Improvement Planning Committee, Finance and Advisory Board, and the Town Administration's commitment to create and continue funding mechanisms for these types of projects so that we can move towards a more proactive strategy for repairs and maintenance as opposed to reactive, which can result in a more costly work. We look forward to reviewing all these recommendations with you tonight and encourage people to be sure they have all their questions answered so that they may make informed decisions in placing their votes. Finance and Advisory Board would like to take this opportunity to publicly thank our recent members, John Bonzoli and Lisa Collin, who recently, in the past year, have resigned from the committee, and we want to thank them for their devoted service to the committee and the community. We would also like to recognize the 3 members who will be leaving the board at the end of this term, at the end of this fiscal year. Nasreen Tanu, Chuck Dixon, and Ronald Miller. Naz and Chuck both joined the board in recent years with true Georgetown dedication, jumped in feet first, becoming invaluable members, led the new, insightful, and often colorful perspective in viewing the town's finances. I think I can safely say that everyone on the board will miss Naz and Chuck. Robin has given countless years of dedication volunteering her time to serve the town. Robin was a founding member of CIP and continued with the Finance and Advisory Board, serving both as chair and secretary during her tenure. Robin's dedication to serving the town is astounding, as many may know her from the myriad of committees across town she has served on, from school to church, just being there when someone in town needs a call. It is bittersweet that Robin, Chuck, and Naz will be leaving our board, as their financial analysis and reasoning will be missed, but all deserve accolades during their retirement from this board. Thank you.
Article 2. And the people that are standing up in the back, would you please come down and find seats? We can't have people standing in the back because of the fire laws. Other than the police officer. He gets to stay. He's our escort. Plenty of seats down in front. And as Sandy was talking about losing people on the Finance and Advisory Board, that means I have 3 more appointments that I'm looking for people to fill. Let me know. Okay. Robin.
I move that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $23,503,511. Appropriate by transfer from the Water Department Enterprise Fund the sum of $262,164. Transfer from subject veterans the sum of $21,060. And transfer from the Affordable Housing Trust the sum of $12,416. For a total appropriation of $23,799,151 to defray charges and expenses of the town for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, including support of the town's public schools, and Whittier Regional Vocational Technical High School to fix salaries of the several elected officers of the town and provide for reserve funds for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, in accordance with the line items in Finance Committee and Advisory Board's report to the May 6, 2013 annual town meeting.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Who was that?
1010 to Wells Ave.
Thank you. Report from the Finance and Advisory Board.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of this article 6A.
Thank you. Any discussion? This requires a majority vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carries by majority. Article 3. Hearing no motion, this article is considered passed over. Article 4, capital fund. Hearing no motion, this article is passed over. Article 5, water department operating budget. You need to turn it on, it's right at the top. Okay.
Good evening, I'm Nick Lawler, one of the water commissioners for the Georgetown Water Department. I'd like to move that the town appropriate water department enterprise revenues for the operation of the water department under the direction and control of the water commissioners in accordance with the water department budget, as shown in the Finance and Advisory Board's report for the May 6, 2013 annual town meeting, the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, such that a total of $262,164 is appropriated for indirect operating costs, as appropriated under Article 2, and a total of $1,214,810 for the town to pay direct costs.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Name? Thank you. Report from the Finance and Advisory Board.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of this article 6A.
Discussion. Would you like to explain what this is for? Glenn?
Glenn Smith, Superintendent of the Water Department. This is our annual operating budget. It includes all of our costs for electricity, chemicals, and labor to supply the town with drinking water and water for firefighting. It includes all of our repairs, all of our maintenance. It's our annual operating budget.
Thank you. Any discussion? This requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed? Carried by majority. Article 6.
I'd like to make a motion that the town appropriate $175,000 from the water department enterprise fund retained earnings for the purpose of making improvements to the town's water system, and to authorize the Board of Water Commissioners to enter into any contracts necessary or incidental thereto.
Do I hear a second? Report from the Finance and Advisory Board.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of this article 6A.
Discussion. Now, what makes this different than Article 5?
This is different than Article 5, and it's for capital, for preliminary engineering, and for testing of improvements to the water treatment plant. As many people know, there's been some water quality issues in Georgetown for a number of years, and this appropriation is for the preliminary study to try to get these things under control.
Thank you. Any discussion? Requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
Each year, there are a number of warrant articles for which past experience tells us that the action will be routine, non-controversial, and predictable. All of the items being considered for the consent calendar are in your town meeting book. As one of the first items of business, there will be a motion to take all of these articles as printed in the warrant and act on them as a group by a single brief affirmative name motion. I will call out the numbers of each article one by one. If you have a doubt before passing the article, please say hold so that I can hear you. And if it's a question that can be answered for you right away, we will. If not, it will be taken and put back into the regular order of the warrant. It is hoped that voters remove articles only in cases of genuine concern, while at the same time, no voter should hesitate to exercise the right to remove matters from the consent calendar. So, if you want to ask a question or you need some clarification, please say hold. Okay, we have a motion for the consent calendar. Thank you. That's Harry. And Chris. The articles being considered for the consent calendar are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, and 15. It is the Municipal Light Department continuation of operation.
Over question.
Okay, question. We can take the question right now.
Robert Kelly, 20 Cedar Lane. How come the lighting department is the only department that doesn't have to submit a budget on this plan? Everybody else has numbers in here, but the lighting department doesn't have a budget in the town meeting. Just curious why they don't have to tell us what they spend like all the other departments.
Okay, do you have an answer to that simple question? Mike? Everybody's pointing at you.
My understanding is they fall under a separate Mass General Law, and they're not required to put it before the Budget Committee. They have their own Board of Commissioners that act in that capacity.
Okay, thank you. Question answered? Yes. Okay, Article 8, Zoning Board of Appeals Revolving Fund. Article 9, Road Machinery Fund. Article 10, Conservation Commission Revolving Fund for Camp Dennison. Article 11, Local Access Programming. Article 12, Chapter 90 Reimbursements, Transportation Bond. Article 13, Conservation Department Conservation Restriction Revolving Fund. Article 14, Fire Department Fire Alarm Revolving Fund. And Article 15, Inspections Department Revolving Fund. I have a motion and a second. This requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. That moves us to Article 16. Fire Department Enterprise Fund creation. Drew?
Madam Moderator, I move to accept the provisions of Chapter 44, Section 53F1/2 of the Massachusetts General Laws to establish an enterprise fund for the town's ambulance service effective fiscal year 2014, and further to appropriate ambulance enterprise revenues for the operation of the ambulance department under the direction and control of the Board of Selectmen in consultation with the fire chief in accordance with the ambulance department budget as shown in the Finance and Advisory Board report to the May 16, 2000 annual town meeting for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013.
Thank you. Second, Sandy? Report from the Finance and Advisory Board.
The Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of this article and vote 6-0.
Thank you. Discussion? No discussion? Does everybody understand what they're doing? Yes.
Income and expenses, the prior year.
Expenses?
Income and expenses.
Okay. Who would like to handle that one? And this is for the enterprise fund. This is for the ambulance. Does anybody have those numbers? Chief, do you have those numbers with you? Would you like to come up? I think to start with, probably we just need a income total and an expense total.
Yes, there's some clarification on this. Right now, after we created a revolving fund that had a maximum amount of money that could be expended from. More than money could be brought in, but there's only a maximum that can be expended as a revolving fund. This year, we're moving to an enterprise fund because of the type of business that it is, and also Mike working with the DOR has recommended that we move to an enterprise fund. Correct, Mike? So therefore, I think more detail on the difference between revolving and enterprise refers to Mike on that.
Okay, Chief?
Al Beardsley, the fire chief. In the past year, the fire department has brought in just under $300,000 in revenues. This is all insurance revenues, none of it's tax money from the town. And from that, at this time, we budgeted out, this time, just under $160,000, $157,000. That's year to date, fiscal year to date.
Thank you. Okay. Mike, can you explain the difference between the enterprise and the revolving fund so that everybody understands?
I'll try.
Thank you.
The revolving fund, as you saw in the warrant, quite a number of them. They're used to supplement with tax appropriations the operations of the different departments. In the case of the ambulance revolving fund, the maximum, and this is true for every revolving fund, the maximum amount you're allowed to spend is 1% of the taxable, the money that we raise in taxes each year is about $13 million. So we started last year's revolving fund at about $132,000. And this was the first year of the operation of the ambulance, and it grew and became more successful than we ever could have imagined. We obviously were budgeting very cautiously and conservatively. Even still, we had a consultant who told us, what to expect. We went past the $132,000 limit and got special dispensation, if you will, from DOR to raise it to $149,000, which was the maximum limit. We're still going to exceed that. So they said, you really need to set this up as an enterprise fund. The enterprise fund it's identical to the water department and the light department. They don't take any tax money, but they take user fees. And the money stays in the retained earning of the fund itself. And in this case, it'll be used for capital replacement of ambulances and things like that.
Okay, thank you. This requires a majority. Is there any other discussion? Sure.
Robert Kelly, 22. Mike, you just said this is like the lighting department. So do they not have to report to us either? So, or they have
I was going to say, except that they don't have a different in Mass General Law. They fall under the same laws as the water department and the rest of the town.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Article 17.
Madam Moderator, move to transfer the unexpended balance remaining in the ambulance revolving fund as of June 30th, 2013 to the ambulance enterprise fund.
Karen. Report from the Finance and Advisory Board. Sandy.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of this article and vote 6-0.
So what this article is doing is taking whatever money is left in the revolving fund and putting it into the new enterprise fund, which we just voted on. Gotcha. Okay? Question? This requires a majority? Okay. Majority, all in favor? Opposed? This passes unanimously. Article 18. Street. Okay, I do not hear a motion, so this article is passed over. It's no longer needed because we've already taken the previous two votes. Article 19, Fire Department ladder truck.
Madam Moderator, move to appropriate from free cash a sum of $77,000 for fiscal year 2014 for lease payment to the fire department ladder truck.
Second, Sandy. Report from the Finance and Advisory.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of this article 6-0.
Thank you. Any discussion? I think we're saving it all until later. This requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed? Again, unanimous. Article 20.
I move to appropriate from free cash the sum of $50,000 to be added to the other post-employment benefits liability trust fund created by vote of the May 7, 2012 annual town meeting pursuant to the provisions of general law, chapter 32B, paragraph 20.
Second. David? Report from the Finance and Advisory Board.
The Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval 6-0.
Discussion. Would you like to explain what this is?
This trust fund is, at the moment, we have a rather large potential liability for employees' health insurance. And this is a trust fund that was created in 2012 to begin to take care of that. And this is a first amount of money
So this is to pay for expenses
This is
that have
it's sort of
previously worked for the town.
future payments of health insurance.
Okay. Yes.
Phil Cannon, 117 West Main Street. How large is the healthcare liability? 16 million. And how about the pension liability? Okay. Are we doing anything about it? I remember reading something not too long ago that we had about 19 million in unfunded healthcare liabilities, about 4 million in unfunded pension liabilities. So these are all these things are going to come, due at some point, correct? So are these like real debts, or can we just walk away from this? They're real debts, right? Yes. Okay.
We will eventually have.
So what is our plan? How are we going to pay for this?
This is the first money that's being put into the fund that was created last year.
Okay.
David?
I can shed a little light on this.
Okay.
All 19 million is not going to be paid in one spot. It takes a look at life expectancy, it takes a look at enrollment, it takes a look at after people retire, for us to provide a portion of the health care benefit going forward. We just had the accountants in at our last select meeting. We have the actual calculation. It actually has come down a little bit. It's actually a little bit higher on the OPEB. It dropped, I want to say, maybe $1.5 million, $2 million. It's more, it was around 19, it's down to about 17. Again, I'm doing this from memory. So it's, the legislature has created this and changed the law so that we can start putting physical cash in it. There are some communities in the Commonwealth, very wealthy communities, that have the full amount of money put away. So, but 50,000 is a very small amount. But it does, if you put in 50, 100, 200, it actually buys down that number much more than dollar for dollar, because it's a projection out. This money's going to earn over a period of time, and they match that up with the how long we're going to have to spread those lifetime.
I remember reading something a while back, and it was saying that some communities were taking a more aggressive approach on paying it back, and other ones were not. We're one of the ones that are not.
We just haven't been able to afford it, to be honest with you. And there wasn't a vehicle until last year to really put this away. This is something we've really, when we start to take a look at some of the contracts as we go forward, we start to try to look at not only this, but other accrued benefits that we set up that other account a little bit earlier. So we are looking at this, but again, it becomes a function of how much how much cash do we have to put away. This is a very good first step, and the accountants actually congratulated us for that, even though it's a small amount of money. But at least we recognized it and we're beginning to do something about it. In our lifetime, will we ever have a full amount in there? I don't know. I think that's an awful lot of money. Like I said, if we dropped $1 million in there, it may drop our liability by $3 million because it's spread over time, and what they call an applied interest rate.
Okay, that just covers the health insurance. Now, what about the pension liability?
Off the top of my head, again, the pension liability, we're pay as we go. So we're funding that as we go. I want to say there may have been about a $2 million differential. It wasn't as bad.
Okay, I thought it was close to 4. I'm just trying to find out how to pay these things down. And this whole bill and all these other things. So
keep in mind, the accounting rules may change on this as we go further into time.
But I guess my point is that the debt is not going to go away. If my kids still live here in 20 years, they're going to be responsible, in theory, for that debt, correct?
Assuming all the retirees live beyond after retirement, yes.
Okay. And then, have we made any moves about going on to the Massachusetts healthcare?
That's a totally different. That's a totally kind of a different issue. Okay. We are looking at plan design. We are again. I don't want to get into that.
It doesn't fall under this article.
Right, but yes, to answer that question, yes, we have addressed that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? This requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Article 21. Yep. We have to get a motion first. Jim's been here since school committee. He thought he was still there.
Vice Chair, School Committee. I move to transfer the sum of $52,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund for the purchase and installation of intercom systems for early elementary and middle high schools, including all costs that's already paid here too.
Thank you. Second? Report of the Finance Supervisory Report. Now it's your turn.
Madam Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of vote 6-0.
Thank you. Rob, would you like to explain to people what this is?
Briefly, this is a system that is original to the buildings, and what we're finding is it's not cost effective to fix it at this point in time. And in fact, some classes do not have an intercom system that's working, which is supposed to be a health, safety, and welfare issue as well.
Thank you. This requires 2/3 because it is coming out of a capital improvement stabilization. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It carries by 2/3. Article 22.
I move to transfer the sum of $38,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund for the replacement of the handicap ramp at the middle high school, including all costs incidental and paid for.
Second? Report from the Finance and Advisory Board.
Madam Moderator, the Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval 6-0.
Okay, Rob?
If anybody has taken a look at the handicap ramp, you'll see what we're talking about. It's breaking down significantly. I think it's fair to say it's not current with ADA code because of that. It too is a health, safety, welfare issue.
Any other discussion? This also requires a 2/3 majority. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. This one's to come. Article 24. Sorry. 23.
I move to transfer the sum of $80,000 from the capital stabilization fund for the replacement of the HVAC unit in the auditorium at the middle high school, including all costs and expenses related to.
Second. Finance and Advisory.
Madam Moderator, the Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval 6-0.
Okay.
The heating and ventilation and air conditioning system is right now, there have been multiple attempts to repair. It's approximately 18 years old. There are times now where the auditorium would be used as a classroom, for example. Sometimes coats are needed. And clearly, heating and ventilation for air quality and air conditioning is also a health safety welfare issue.
Especially if it's really cold during town meeting. Yes.
Robert Kelly, 20 Seedling. Didn't we sign $3 million for the HVAC energy retrofit? Wasn't this part of the $3 million we signed off on? To do this, like the one that's back at the town hall right now?
Okay. So a couple of people looking at each other here.
It was not part of that. It was not part of the energy performance bond.
Okay, David?
And the reason why it wasn't part of it, there was not an energy savings return that could be relied upon to pay the cost of it back.
So when they did their energy audit, they ruled it out because there was no energy.
Correct.
And the reason we didn't address it then when we signed up for $3 million?
Well,
Was bad?
it was $2.2 million, and we could only include things that could be paid back.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? This requires a 2/3 majority as well. All in favor? Opposed? Passes with 2/3. Article 24.
Move to transfer from the free cash the sum of $100,000 for the purchase and equipping of a 6-wheel dump truck, noting further that the balance of $50,000 necessary for the acquisition of such truck is included in the operating budget approved on Article 2.
Wait a second, Sandy. Report, please.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of this article, vote is 6-0.
Thank you. Any discussion? This requires a majority. All in favor?
Any other motions for that?
Name and address, please.
Christopher H. Schematic, 280 Street. Thank you. Other motions? I disagree. Explain to us what this is all about.
Mr. Durkee. Come on back down. Thought it was going to be easy, huh?
This is to replace a vehicle that we currently own. It's a 1999 International. And when they built this type of truck, they did it with a dual frame. And one of the frames has a crack in it about 85 inches long. So this happened to the truck that we replaced last year. And the bad part is the 3 trucks that we owned were all bought in the same year. So it's not a good idea to buy trucks in the same year because this is what happens. Whatever happens to one happens to the other 2.
If I may, Madam Law, so this is the same thing as last year on a different product?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Majority, all in favor? Opposed? Carried by majority. 25. David?
Madam Moderator, motion to approve Article 25 as printed in the town warrant. I read it over many times already.
Okay, second by Robin. Report from Finance and Advisory Board.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval. This article, the vote was 5 in favor, none against, and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Would you like to give the gist of what this is? Yes.
Good evening, Madam Moderator. This is a bylaw
You
that we
need to introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lieutenant Don Cudmore, 72 Ball Bay Road.
Thank you.
This bylaw we put together with the Board of Selectmen because right now we have absolutely no regulations or Mass General laws relative to soliciting in Georgetown. And during the times when solicitation is active, we do receive calls from our residents, but we have absolutely no authority to either prevent soliciting or do any type of background check on the folks that are coming to our residents' homes. Right now we have a volunteer process that companies will come in and see us, but it has no standing and we have no authority. And if they don't want to cooperate, there's a sensitive issue between privacy and free speech. And communities have put together this bylaw with the hopes that we as the police department can service our residents' questions as well as monitor the solicitation and the activities that people are doing.
Thank you. We're talking door-to-door salesman type things.
That's correct. For-profit solicitation, not the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, political activities or religious activities. Strictly for-profit.
Thank you. Any discussion? Yes. Anybody who has a question, come to the mic.
Madam Moderator, just a quick question. It's not Hamrock City, 124 George Street. My apologies. This is, I'm not seeing where this is being inserted in the town code. Perhaps town council can clarify that for us. What chapter is it?
Okay, the answer was it's being left blank for now. We'll get added as the next chapter within our bylaws. Yes.
Jim DeMento, 12 School Street. I was in 6th grade here during the Vietnam War, and I really kind of amused me that this article was going to be put in here. I really don't like this change of power that we have between home security, and now we're all going to be taken care of. I really think that this is going to have a chance to be abused, and I'm not in favor of it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other discussion? Questions? This requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed? Carries by majority. Article 26. Kathy. Ladies and gentlemen,
I motion to approve Article 26 as printed in the town warrant.
report from the Finance and Advisory Board. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of business to finish discussing this evening. We appreciate your attention. Thank you. Discussion. I think it pretty much speaks for itself. All in favor? Requires majority. Opposed? It does carry by majority. Community preservation. Here comes the good stuff. call out the letter of each section of the article one by one. If you have a doubt about passing any motion or wish an explanation of the included section, the voter should say the word hold. I will then inquire as to the request to hold is a question or debate. If the purpose was to ask a question, we will obtain an answer for you. If the purpose was to hold the section for debate, it will be dropped and restored to its original place on the warrant. After calling the individual letters, I will ask that all articles remaining be passed as a unit by a majority vote after a brief affirmative nay motion is made. The sections that are being considered for the CPC consent calendar are the following: 27, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and J, as printed in your town meeting book. H and I have been removed to be discussed after this vote because they require a two-thirds vote. And this is majority only. So it's A through G and J. A is community preservation general budget. B is community housing, housing authority community building. C is community preservation community housing category affordable housing trust grant. D is historic resource category, Central Fire Company Historic. E, community preservation historic resources category, Historic Rockaway Museum. F is Camp Dennison Historic Preservation Phase 3. And G is historic documents preservation. And J is community preservation open space category, American Legion Park rehabilitation. I did not hear a hold on any of those, so I will ask for a motion.
So, Madam Moderator.
Okay, the motion needs to be made as printed in the warrant. I just read off the main article, so the motion we have to read to pass the CPC articles 27 A through G and 27J as printed in the warrant. Thank you, Barry. Okay, Richard, a second someplace. Thank you. Yeah, no. This requires a majority for these particular sections. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. H. CPC. Harry?
Madam Moderator, Harry Laxton, Chair of Community Preservation. I move that $150,000 is appropriated to pay the cost of acquiring a conservation restriction on the following property: Wheelenbrook Farm, 57 Jewett Street, Georgetown, assessors map 17, parcels 94P, 110, and 112, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and to meet this appropriation, $18,933 shall be transferred from the undesignated account of the Community Preservation Fund, and the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow $131,067 under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 73, and Chapter 44B of the general laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Turn the microphone.
The Finance and Advisory Board, Robin?
Finance and Advisory Board did not recommend this article as our vote was 3-3.
Thank you. We have a question. Hang on.
That was the motion that I was sent, Friday. With it. What motion would you like to have? That's what I was sent from, Town
Okay,
Hall.
Harry, would you kindly withdraw that motion and we'll give you the motion?
Madam Moderator, I would like to withdraw that motion, and I would like to withdraw that motion. I would like to withdraw the withdrawal.
Okay. You're now allowed to withdraw the withdrawal. The original motion will stand. Okay, so the original language is standing. We have heard from the Finance and Advisory Board. This is the 2/3 vote required. Would somebody like to come and explain what this is and why we're voting?
Madam Moderator, this was a project brought forth by the Conservation Commission, presented to the Community Preservation Committee. The Community Preservation Committee recommended this to come to town meeting. They wanted to preserve and put a conservation/agricultural restriction on what's commonly known and well known in town as Willowbrook Farm, the strawberry farm, as you know. We, in the CPC, didn't have enough money, so we're asking to bond it, which is the reason it got pulled out of the consent calendar. My understanding is this needs a 2/3 majority vote, and if anyone has any specific questions, I believe we have a representative from Essex County Greenbelt that is generously offering, I believe, $90,000 or $100,000 towards this, in addition to what we're offering. And I also have Steve Brzezinski.
Okay, who would like to address this as far as explaining why this is being done and what exactly will happen to this property?
Madam Moderator, I believe the best person for that is Vanessa from Essex County Greenbelt.
Good evening, Vanessa Johnson. I'm a land conservation protection specialist with Essex County Greenbelt Association. We're a nonprofit conservation organization, non-governmental, member-supported, and what we are asking the town to vote on is to expend $150,000 to help us acquire a conservation restriction on the Wheelerbrook Farm. A conservation restriction effectively extinguishes certain development rights on a property forever. So this conservation restriction will allow the landowners, current landowners and all future landowners to farm the land, but it will prevent this land from ever being able to be developed. No landowner will ever be able to subdivide and build homes on the 18 acres that the conservation restriction will cover.
Okay, so if someone buys the house, they would have to farm the land, or it could be left unfarmed?
The house is excluded from the property. However, there is an affirmative covenant in the conservation restriction that does require whoever owns the property to either farm it or maintain it suitable for farming, which means at a minimum mowing the existing fields. The affirmative covenant also allows the current landowner, if they're, whoever that is, if they're unable to farm, to find someone else to farm the land. If they are unable to, Greenbelt can actually step in and either farm the land or find another suitable farmer to farm the land.
Okay. So basically, we guarantee that this will always remain a farm?
As best as we can.
Or farmable land?
Yes.
Okay. Rob?
Rob Hoover, 16 Chestnut Street. I was curious if the planning board had talked about this and weighed in on this or
Madam Moderator, Harry Lafayette, Chair of the Judge on Planning Board. This has not come up
support this. The farmlands are part of the cultural heritage of this town, and there is not a lot of this type of land left. And this is the kind of gesture that goes well past our lifetime for our children's children. So I strongly support this for the heritage of Georgetown.
Thank you. If anybody else would like to speak, come right to the microphones.
Yeah, I'm Jim DeMento with North School Street. That land is presently under 61A, which means the town has the right of first refusal if it ever was wanted to be developed. So the land is appraised right now at $340,000. We would be able to buy that land at that appraised value, or some number close to that. So what happens is we are now putting money against ourselves. Right now, that land can only have 3 lots of 40,000 square feet each. So you have 18 acres with 3 1-acre lots, which gives you 15. When you look at Whale Brook, which is a 200-foot setback from Whale Brook, most of the farm is protected. What isn't protected is the land around Baltimore House's his own house. You would have to put the houses around his house. You know, you're all thinking that you're getting a great deal. This is not a good deal for the town. This is a good deal for Bob Lawrence.
Okay, next. Yes.
My name is Laura Revlier. I live at 7 Thurlow Street. I really would urge us all to support this motion. Willowbrook Farm is a treasure. It is it is the last remaining farm in Georgetown, and they have over decades welcomed all of us onto their farm. They have welcomed years and years and years of first graders on field trips to come and learn about farming, to learn about where food comes from, about conservation, good land management policies. All of our neighbors, the community is welcome on the farm. They provide us with fabulous food and a tremendous welcome. This is our last chance to protect and preserve the last farm in Georgetown, to protect the diversity of our community, which may otherwise just become a plowed under piece of land of housing. And the farm is very important to our community. I would say that waiting to exercise our first refusal rights is a dangerous path. If we come to that point, we may well find that the land has appreciated well beyond our expectations and we can't afford it at all. And at that point, we will not have Essex County Greenbelt giving us $100,000 towards our purchase price. This is a tremendous deal. We're getting a lot of support from Greenbelt, not only in purchasing the property, but in maintaining it and making sure that it is maintained as an excellent farm for years to come. And it's a vote for us. It's a vote for Georgetown. It's a vote for our diversity and the quality of our life. And I really hope you'll support it. Thank you.
I'm one of the Finance Advisory Board members that voted against this article on a couple of very simple premises. One, we are not purchasing the property. Essex County Greenbelt is not giving money for us to purchase the property. The property remains underneath the current homeowner. Two, there is only a few, as Jim DeMento said, a couple of pieces that are developable. The 19 acres is not developable. It will not become a huge lot. Three, conservation restriction can be put on by the homeowner. It doesn't need the town vote. It doesn't need our money to do it. The homeowner can do that. The property owner can put the conservation restriction on it and keep it there. I think this is a very bad precedent to be set in the town for taxpayer dollars going to a private homeowner, landowner, with absolutely nothing in return except for the fact that it will be continued to be farmed by a private entity. There is nothing gained by the town. There is no asset that is returned to us on the town. And that is the premise of why I voted against it. It is $150,000 of our taxpayer dollars, and we receive nothing in return on the town side. We don't own it. That is not true. We will not own it. We will not have rights to it, to use it. It will still remain private property. So that's why I am.
My name is Nicole Carlea, I live at 14 Pond Street. And I just have a question. So if they can do it themselves, has anybody talked to the current landowners to see why he hasn't put his conservation, or put a conservation on his own land?
Harry?
Madam Moderator, I'd like to ask that Steve Brzezinski be asked to answer that, the conservation agent for the town. He would be the person that would be best to answer that.
Steve was an S.
A landowner can put a deed restriction on their land by themselves that is only valid for 30 years. A perpetual conservation restriction has to be held by a qualified entity like Greenbelt or the Town Conservation Commission. In order for a conservation restriction to be perpetual, it has to be approved by the state, which this one already has. It has to be approved and signed by the Board of Selectmen, and then ultimately it has to be signed by the state as well as the landowners. If that doesn't happen, it's not perpetual.
So has there been discussion with Mr. Morehouse about putting the restriction on his deed for 30 years?
The landowners are interested in permanently protecting their farm and ensuring that the farm will never be able to be developed. So what's effectively happening is they, rather than selling their land, they're selling the development rights to their land. So the money that they're receiving is in compensation for the development rights that they are permanently giving up on their property. And as a result, their property will no longer be as valuable as it was before because those development rights are being eliminated.
Okay, so this money is being paid to the Morehouse family?
This is an acquisition of the property rights held by the Morehouses.
So where does
Or the
money
development
go?
rights, I'm sorry.
So it's $150,000, where does it go?
Just like as if you were buying the land from the landowners, buying the development rights means you are buying this from the landowners. It is a development right is something that has monetary value, and that's what you're acquiring from the landowners. So yes, you're buying it from the landowners. They are getting this money. But I will also add that they can get a lot more money by selling their land than by selling a conservation restriction.
Okay, but they could also do the 30 year.
They could, but it won't be perpetual, and it's not worth, it doesn't have value.
Okay, next.
Phil Cannon, 117 West Main Street. I think people should be allowed to do what they want with their land, but if we're not going to get a piece of tangible property title to the land there, I don't see it being a very good investment for the town. And I also would point out that we bought some land in the past, Bailey Lane, things like that, and I remember asking the question, whenever we bought that 8 years ago, how are we going to get on there? Oh, don't worry, we'll have the parking and all this kind of stuff. Last time I was down at the end of Bailey Lane, there were cement barriers. And so we had this conservation land with limited access. And now we only know this land. And then what's going to happen, I remember there was a comment from Harry in the paper saying, the only reason people can get on this land right now is because Bob Morehouse is a nice guy. You get a conservation restriction on there, can't go on there, can't do anything. It really doesn't seem like a very prudent investment. So that's my view.
Okay.
Madam Moderator, just to clarify a few things, I just want to point out to everybody, we are not purchasing the fee. We are not purchasing this land. A lot of times with CB money in the past, we purchased parcels of land. Those parcels, we own public land. This will not be a public land purchase. We are only purchasing the development rights and extinguishing along with Greenbelt. This will not be public land. You can only go on this land with permission of the landowner. This will remain a private parcel. It does have to remain a farm, true, but it is a private parcel. And at some point, if this were to be willed to someone or sold to another entity used as a farm, that farmer may or may not want the property and may not be as open and
nice as the law is, as far as inviting everybody to come to the schools and stuff. It is a private property, and it remains private property. Just want to make it clear, because CPC monies in the past have been used to purchase lands. And by the way, drive down the Baker Lane, because it's, the parking area is all set, it's still there.
Yes, barriers are gone.
The barriers are gone for a while.
Yes. Yes, please. Yes.
Nicole Carleo again. I have another question. So if this is done and the land is purchased, then how, if future transactions, or not purchased, but if this transaction took place, and how would future transactions for the sell of the land, so let's say the Morehouses want to sell the land at some point, say 15 years from now, how would that transaction take place once this is in place, if that was the way that it went?
It's my understanding that as long as whoever is purchasing it is going to remain a farm, or keep it farmable, it would just be like any other sale. It's a deed, it's a restriction on the deed.
I guess what I'm asking is how would it affect value of the land, how, I guess just interesting since you're used to doing this kind of process.
Since the land can no longer be developed, it typically doesn't get the same value on the open market because anyone buying it can no longer develop the land. So this land will likely sell at agricultural values, which is a significantly reduced value. One of the benefits of conservation restrictions is they actually make land affordable for young farmers to buy.
Okay. Jim?
A couple of points, Madam Moderator. First of all, it is not unusual, as I understand, for towns to buy conservation restrictions for these kinds of activities. And the second thing is, there's an awful lot of talk about local sustainable agriculture. And the only way that happens is to keep lands away from development. Not that a couple of houses is going to make a big impact on us. But it's very important if we're going to have local sustainable agriculture, that these lands be available.
Thank you.
George Kaminsky, 45 Old Jacob Road. I'd also like to point out, these conservation issues aren't unusual around the state. Over 900 farms have been bought through these agricultural preservation restrictions. The only thing that's changed is the funding mechanism. The state has their own program where they go out and buy hundreds of acres of land. The only thing is, they're really not looking at small farms like 18-acre farms. They're out in the western part of the state buying 200 or 300 acres. So our tax dollars every day are going to pay for sustainable farming. So I'd just like to add that.
Okay. Yes.
Madam Moderator, Chuck Dixon, Third Central, and I'm one of those 3 members on the Financial Services Board that voted for this. I saw this project about a year ago when Steve was talking about this. And, you go into big cities, you see just nothing but wall-to-wall concrete, and you just love to see a park or something. And when you've got this piece of property here that the Essex County is going to come in here to do conservation and give a large chunk of it and help us preserve that farm atmosphere, not having it built. It is true that money will be going to the landowner's pocket.
You need to speak into the microphone in this direction.
I'm sorry.
I'm not picking you up.
It's true that the money that's going for this will be going to the landowner as a compensation not to develop this or sell as a develop this property. I just think it would be really nice, this community that I'd really like here in Georgetown to see keeping some of this tradition, this small farm here. We've got the conservation ethics that's going to be putting in a large chunk of money to help with that. It seals it from ever being developed. It keeps that small vegetable farm and all there. And it is true that you still have to get the landowner's permission, but it just means you go by there, you're not going to see condominiums, you're not going to see development, and it keeps what makes Georgetown really nice. And one of the reasons I picked Georgetown over another people to live in. And I think we should look at that.
So I have a question for the CPC. Is this the only and last parcel that this could happen where we have a request from the actual property owner? Are there other farms, are there other parcels that could come forth and ask for the same type of restriction, offer up for us to purchase. I heard it was the only one. I want to make sure
No,
that
that is a mistake. I'm sure that was just a misquote. No, there are several farms that are, many parcels that are under, are also under Chapter 60. And, I can think of a half dozen parcels right now. There are farms that could ask the town for something like this.
So that CPC, second question is this, so that CPC take a look at the potential exposure by setting a precedent with one and then potentially other ones coming forth and being refused?
I don't believe it was looked at that way, to be perfectly honest with you. We look at every project suggestion that comes in, and it's weighed on its merits, or its demerits, or benefits to the town. I do have to say, this is probably the most exemplar example of a farm in Georgetown. When you think of a farm in Georgetown, probably not thinking of a tree farm. You're most likely thinking of a little farm. And I think that 150,000, that vision, that image, that feeling of Georgetown, that's what's worth it.
Okay, someone we haven't heard from yet. Gary?
Gary Fowler, 419 North Street. I got up here, I've been trying to stay out of the debate, but there's one thing that we really not talked about, and that is the fact that we are borrowing. I believe that's why this was held out from the consent calendar. I am in, like many of the others, I'm in full support of this for Bob, but I am not in support of borrowing the money. And I was kind of hoping to hear some more debate on that. We haven't, so I stepped up here to say that. And the next question will be, the next motion will be similar. And I'd like to perhaps hear something about how we're going to borrow the money and how this is going to affect CPC or CPA, as some call it, in projects moving ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Harry, would you like to answer that one? And we'll move on.
Madam Moderator, can I just get a say for one minute?
That is what it's required, is a 2/3 vote. It is borrowing from CPC money, which we would have to then pay back with interest. And it is a borrowing in the
Yes, the debt service for this bond, number one, will be paid for with the proceeds that come every year from the local collections of the CPC. This bond will not raise your taxes even 1 penny. This is not a debt exclusion. This is not like other bonds in town. The money is the expected proceeds that we will get in the CPC fund from year to year, and we've looked at the numbers. There were some questions that were asked. We touched upon a question. How will this affect the CPC? I just want to tell you, and I don't want to jump to the next question, but it certainly is the 600-pound gorilla in the room in conjunction with this tiny little monkey. The bottom line of it is, if you combine both of those bonds that are being proposed tonight, and you did it with a 5-year bond, after you did all your 10% reservations, and I'm sure everybody's used to hearing about the 10% reservations, after you did that, in your first year, if you had a 5-year bond, you would still have $104,000, according to a very, very conservative estimate that was done by the CPC. If we did a 15-year bond, we'd have almost $250,000 residual in the undesignated fund. This bond will be executed by the Board of Selectmen. They will actually choose whether it's a 5, 7, 10, or 15-year bond in conjunction with the CPC. It's an input from the CPC. That has not been determined, so I can't give you an exact number, but I can tell you it ranges anywhere from $104,000 to $243,000 that we would have in our undesignated fund.
Does that include state money, or is that just the local?
This includes the worst year we have ever had in the Depression that we just had, with the match receipts from the Department of Revenue. The very worst. It's an extraordinarily conservative and realistic estimation projection on the finance.
Okay.
I can tell you, I'm the worst person in the world when it comes to borrowing money. I get nervous. I'm comfortable.
Okay. Someone we have heard.
I have a couple of questions about it.
Speak right into the microphone.
I have a couple of questions. One is, has there been a conservation study done on the land to find out actually if the entire parcel is developable? Anybody?
Okay, what's the second question?
Second question is, why are we putting the cart before the horse here? Why don't we, if he wants to develop the property and he has somebody that's interested in the property, he can go ahead and move forward in that way, and then the town can execute its rights, as we heard, to make a decision then. I don't think it's $150,000. Isn't Greenbelt putting in 90? Or am I wrong?
100.
So it's $250,000.
Right.
So how much is the landowner getting? In actual dollars, if we keep hearing 150, it's not 150. So it's 250.
It's 250.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now, are we entering into an agreement with a private organization, the town in Greenbelt?
The town and Greenbelt will be co-holding the conservation restriction if this vote goes through.
Is that legitimate?
Yes, it is.
So who calls the shots? That's the idea.
Greenbelt has offered to take on the responsibility of enforcing the conservation restriction. We have a whole department that does that routinely on all of our other conservation restrictions, so we are set up to monitor this conservation restriction annually.
I think the town is setting an incredibly bad precedent. I mean, that's the thing for me. I'll give you half the value of your house if you'll always keep the house and not plant corn. I believe it's really ridiculous.
Okay, somebody else we have
One thing to say, I asked a couple questions just to get clarification, which I think is very important on the subject, so I do have one thing to say, and I do agree, I would vote to preserve this land. I think it's important to not only support small farmers, but farming aside, it's important to preserve land that is currently not built on. Once it's gone, it's gone. And the town of Georgetown will never get it back. And so not only are we supporting, something for our future generations, my children as well as everybody's children here, where they can go, they can, eat fresh food, they can buy farm, fresh produce and fruit from a local farmer. That option isn't available in a lot of towns. It was one reason why we moved here. I think it's a lot of reasons why people are here and why they like the town of Georgetown. And once this is gone, it's gone. I hear a lot of talk about this isn't a good investment for our town. Sometimes it's not about good investment. Sometimes it's about an investment in, maybe not a monetary investment, but an investment in our land, an investment in our culture. And I think it's really important for us to support this. Thank you.
I'm Lilibeth Weiss. I live at 84 North Street. I'm in support of this for a couple of reasons. I think, as the person right before me said, the character of the town, the open space is all very important. But also, if you just look at some of the things we just voted for, $150,000 for a dump truck, I mean, isn't 17 acres worth the same amount of open land?
anyone who has something to say that we have not heard? Anything new?
I'd just like to clarify, David asked a question that we haven't done anything on this before. In the town, in Essex County Greenbelt, and the state tried to work out a deal with the Zidell Farm off of North Street after the frontage issues that couldn't be resolved. So I keep hearing the word unprecedented, but it's even been tried before in this town. It had the full support of the selectmen and the Conservation Commission.
Okay, anything that we have not heard before?
I would like to make a point. Our support of the farm, under 61A, Walmart is supposed to pay approximately $5,000 a year in taxes. He pays $100 because we support them. What we don't understand is, when we went and bought Bailey Lane, there were about 40 or 50 homes that were going to be put there. We bought that land to protect the homeowners. The only homeowner we're going to protect by buying this $150,000 whatever you want to call it, is far more houses home. So that's the only place where those houses will be, around his home. It won't hurt any neighbor, and that farm will still be there. If he decides not to farm it, he doesn't have to farm it. But we're not doing anything to his farm. He'll make those decisions himself.
Okay, anything that we have not heard already?
Katie Sayap, Charles Street, 15 Charles Street. I just wanted to make a comment about non-developable. I used to live at 10 Hillside Drive, and was always claimed that it would not be developed because it had wetlands and such and streams. It is very developed right now due to a mass septic system. So I'm just saying anything is possible and you can develop anywhere. So I'd like to preserve the space for farms for the future.
Okay, I have to move the question. So we will take a vote. The question means move the question.
Vote on move the question.
Okay. So to move the question, I need a second and a 2/3 vote to move the question.
Second.
Who's second? Okay. I need everybody to come in the room and have a seat that is not a teller or a police officer. We can't count your votes if you're standing up.
Madam Warren?
Just a minute. Now, according to council, I now take a vote.
Is there discussion before the vote?
No, there isn't. We take a 2/3 vote to call the motion. So 2/3 of the people decide that they want the motion called. We then take a vote on the motion. And if it goes the other way, then we continue the discussion. Okay? All in favor of calling the motion? If a 2/3 vote comes up now, then discussion is ended and we take a vote on the actual motion.
The motion was to move, John. The motion was to move.
Motion was to move the question, which means it cuts off debate. It just means move on. So, 2/3 is required to move on. All in favor? Opposed? It's too close for me to vote. For our tellers, we need to know the total number of people that are here that have registered. And then we need to take account of the people that are in here voting. If everybody would kindly have a seat, other than our police officers.
Bruins are winning 2-0.
Okay, would our tellers come in and start counting?
Star when to get the count.
One person can get the count. The rest of the tellers, please come in and start counting. The reason the yellow tape is here is one teller is going to count that side of this room, and the teller is going to count this side.
You're going to count everybody.
Okay, tellers ready?
I'm going right here, right? Here.
I'm Bob Cornhouse, 57 Jewett Street. My wife and I own Weaverbrook Farm. This is a nice, healthy discussion we're having here this evening. I didn't really come to say much, but I think I should share with you a few things, some personal things. Why are we doing this, and what does the town get out of it? Barb and I are both on the dark side of 70. So with advancing age and declining health, we know we're going to have to do something with our property. A couple of years ago, the conservation agent approached us and said, would you like to sell it to the town? We don't favor that option. We want to see it remain as a farm, where kids can come and pick berries, where families can say hello to the animals, where you can buy produce fresh from the farm. We're talking about $150,000 contribution by the town to buy this land. We bought it in 1968. It was a brushy, abandoned farm. We nurtured it to the productive farm that it is today. We want to see it remain that way so you can continue to buy produce. Now, a few years back, the town bought land on Hampshire Lane, a number of acres for $280,000. How many people have visited that place? I see 3 hands. Last year, they bought land on Wells Avenue for about $50,000. How many people have visited that? 1 or 2. How many people bought produce at Weaverbrook Farm? How many have had children attend with the school where I hitched them up to the tracers like a bunch of stubborn donkeys? They plowed furrows, they planted potatoes. They come back in the fall and dig the potatoes. How many have had children fish in our pond? It's a people's place. That's the way we feel about it. We want to see that retained. I think it's a value. It's a community value. It's important to Georgetown. We love our farm, we love Georgetown. So let's look at some of the numbers as well. We know we've spent a lot of money in the past for land that nobody uses. We pay, Barbara and I pay, about $10,000 a year in taxes. With the new school, it'll probably be $12,000. That's $1,000 a month. Are you getting any value out of those other properties for people? So I'd just like to share that with you, maybe help you decide how you want to vote on this article.
One of the things that I was asked about why we're doing this, one of the important parts of this equation is that even if the town at some time in the future wants to act on exercising the right to purchase this land, and I forget what the window is, I know Steve had told me one time, it's a very short window of time the town will have to come up with that money. So whatever the value of that property was, and you can just take an arbitrary number of a million or whatever it is, the town would have only a matter of a few days or a few weeks, I think the town administrator might be able to tell me what that is before we would come up with that. So that was one of his major concerns of why we wanted to seize this opportunity since we had the green belt at some time in order for us to do that now, and we could get this option where it could not be developed at a very reasonable price.
Okay, Steve.
Move the question.
Again, you have to take it second and two-thirds vote.
Can I finish since I started?
Hold on, Steve.
You already recognized the speaker.
Steve was recognized, he gets to finish.
Thank you. I'll be brief. First to Mr. Morehouse here, tough act to follow. Appreciate what you said. So, some very smart financial minds over there who I really respect are saying some truths. You know, we're paying money and not actually buying land. We have the potential to buy the land first right of refusal in the future, which potentially, again, better deal. But here's how I look at it, is we can go to sleep tonight knowing that for the cost of a dump truck, and that was brilliant, we have preserved one of the most important pieces of land in Georgetown for future generations. Or we should take the chance that 7 years from now, 13 years from now, 27 years from now, we don't screw this up. So all of you who have been around town decision-making processes, what do you think the chances are that we can screw this up? Right? Pretty good. So financially, some really smart things were said. I moved to this town to be able to walk down the street and see the horses and the chickens and be able to have things like Willowbrook Farm in place for a relatively small price. I want to sleep well tonight knowing that's going to be there for generations to come. And I'm going to put my financial calculator away and make the right choice for Georgetown.
Okay, I think everybody knows how they are going to personally vote. So we are going to take a vote. It requires 2/3. And the town better be ready. All in favor? Opposed? I can call that 2/3. Okay. The next one is 27I.
Madam Moderator.
Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have many more to go, so.
Madam Moderator, I move that $1,250,000 is appropriated to pay the cost of rehabilitating the high school athletic field, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto. And at the end of this appropriation, $250,000 shall be transferred from the open space reserve to the community preservation fund, and the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow $1 million under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 725, and Chapter 44B of the general laws or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore.
Second. Report from the Finance and Advisory Board.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of Article 5-0.
Okay, Harry, would you like to tell people what this is all about, in case there's anybody in this room that doesn't know?
As if there was something that didn't know about this. About 3 years ago, before the Community Preservation Act was changed, the GAA and schools got together, and what they wanted to do was they wanted to upgrade and put a synthetic turf field at the high school. It's
to replace the very, very bad field that's out there right now that's pretty much only usable about half to a third of the time of the year. At any rate, it was an impossibility. We couldn't do it. It was illegal to utilize CPA money to rehabilitate fields on property that was previously purchased by the town. With the change to the CPA legislation in 2012, the legislature allows towns to rehabilitate fields on lands that were not purchased with CPA monies. However, they did make one other change in the law, and they said that no CPA money can be used for synthetic surfaces. So the town is in a little bit of a unique situation wherein we can rehabilitate our field, but an outside private entity has to purchase and install the rubber. Either through negotiations, the select board, the synthetic turf advisory committee, the GAA, school committee, the park and rec, all got together. The selectmen all appointed the synthetic turf advisory committee, got them all in one room, and they came about a deal wherein the GAA is going to purchase and install the rug as a private entity, the one that the town cannot do. And the town will utilize CPA money and proceeds from the bond and pay back the CPA money to do all the infrastructure, lighting, bleachers, retaining walls, etc., etc. I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
Borrow $1 million, get a new field, everybody's happy.
Any discussion? Is there anybody in the room that doesn't know how they want to vote right now?
Robert Kelly, 20 Cedar Lane. Question, I know we're about to borrow $1 million at about 2.5% from the town at the select meeting. So we're going to pay somewhere about $140,000 in interest over this. Harry, the question I have for you or the CPA committee is, what is the operating funds from the town to maintain the field? Because the CPA funds do not be used for existing operating funds. Who's going to do preventive maintenance on the field? What is the budget?
Okay.
Hi, Mark Perry, 9 Tiger Road. The maintenance of the fields will be done by the school systems. Currently, right now, they're responsible to maintain this field, and if you were maintaining it correctly, it would be about $60,000 a year. Right now, we're spending less than $15,000 to $20,000 to maintain the field. Approximately 50% of the home games for Georgetown are not playable on this field. For safety, drainage, the field is not capable of being used. Obviously, most people know there's no lights on the field. So when you install a multi-purpose synthetic field, it's about 5 to 1. So you get actually about 5 fields to every 1 field of grass. This field will be used by over 3,000 kids in this town. It will be used by over 400 adults in this town. It is the best investment this town will ever make as far as athletic or recreation. We're in dire need at this point. Our sports programs have doubled in size. They've outgrown the capacity and capabilities of the fields that we have. If you're in this organization, GAA, I think pretty much everybody joined GAA to coach their kids. That was the objective and the goal. I have a 15-year-old son. He'll never play it down on this field. I joined GAA, and I've spent probably 90% of my time fixing fields, raising funds, and really what our focus has been is trying to make the surfaces playable so our kids can play. We have a lot of good fields as far as American Legion. The guys have just done a lot of work at Pembroke. We put lights on all of these fields. So we maximize what we have, but we're just at our limits. We can't go any further. So this project really will help us. Again, if you go to a football game and your son is on that football field, you're praying every single time that kid runs with the football or tries to tackle somebody. Okay, if your kid is out there playing soccer or lacrosse, it's the same situation. It's very, very dangerous. But the big big part of this is we have no place to practice, and by extending and using the lights, we'll be able to use this field till 9 o'clock. Through the high school and GAA, it's a great organization, it's a great partnership. We'll really get a lot of use here. This field will be used every day from 3 to 9, from Saturday morning from 7 to 9, and Sunday morning 7 to 9. Just imagine the amount of kids that are going to get on this field. And the other thing is in the fall, we'll be able to play home football games on Friday nights. We're trying to get more community involvement. You hear about all this stuff about, spending money in Georgetown. We're not spending money in Georgetown when our football games are in Haverhill or some other town. We can't have our home gates here. So if you're a business in this town and you're paying, and 400 or 500 people are not here on a Saturday or not here on a Friday night, that's not helping you. So if we can get the community here, we can have flag football on Friday nights, home football games. The band can use this field, graduation can use this field, gym classes can use this field. The other thing is, in the spring, most high schools have a field house. We don't have one. We have an inadequate sized gymnasium. So in the spring, when we're getting ready for lacrosse, softball, baseball, our kids are trying out in the gymnasium. If you get a 17 or 18-year-old boy who's in a gymnasium hitting baseballs, you're not able to really have a tryout. So turf field, you can take the snow off. If you go to Weston High School, Triton High School, there's 90 of these fields going in 18 months.
Okay.
Oh, cost this year. Right.
And you're 5 minutes.
It's
So you're at a very short time right here.
It's about $40,000 a year less to maintain the field. Less. Yes. Right. There's no mowing, there's no lining. Every single game that you have in that field, you have to put a custodian on the field to line it. There's no sprinklers. There is a machine that we're buying as part of this package. You drag it behind a piece of equipment that we already have. All the rubber gets pulled into the field. That's it. That's all the maintenance that this field requires for 15 years. No fertilizer, no runoff, nothing.
Okay, next.
I just have a question on the funding on this. I mean, I'm all in favor of the new field, my son's both play here. So I see a line here that says it could be, whether the amount should be raised by taxes. Is this all from this conservation preservation funding, or is this coming out of the potential override?
Not an override.
Where will it come out of taxes, not from the CPC?
It is from the CPC.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
there's a disparity between what was printed in the FinCom booklet and the warrant article that I read. This will be for a CPC bond. Your taxes will not go up. This is not an override.
Yes.
Katie Say at Charles Street. I was wondering if, so this is being borrowed funds, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so how come, I'd like to know why Mr. Fowler had a problem with borrowing $150,000 for the Wheelerbrook farm, but not for this?
Gary?
One thing, I voted in favor of the Wheelerbrook farm, but I just wanted to bring out the debate to let people realize that this is being borrowed. I came here not knowing how I was going to vote on Wheelerbrook farm. At the selectmen's meeting when it was first presented to us, I voted for it. At our last selectmen's meeting, they came and said we're borrowing it. It put a question in my head. And coming and hearing the healthy debate that we're having here tonight helps to make up the mind. And I haven't told you yet, I was trying to stay out of this debate. But once I hear it, I came here probably not in favor of it, but I am leaning towards favoring it right now. So thank you for asking me the question and giving an honest answer.
That's one of the reasons that town meeting is so important. It's because the voters can come into one location, can talk to each other, can let each other know what's going on, and then take a vote. And without town meeting, we would not have this opportunity. So, next.
Yes, hi, my name is David Bjork. those who don't know me, I used to be in a school committee, and I wanted to give my perspective on this because my son, my youngest son is going to be one of the captains of the team next year for football, full disclosure. But when I was in the school committee, this issue came up. There was a project before about 6 years ago, which I did not support. I had kids that were playing sports. Because of the way it was funded, it was going to be a bond, it was going to cost taxpayer money. And the perspective I'm trying to give on this project is the way that it's through the CPC. It will not increase your taxes. And so I'm in full support now of this project, even though, like someone else said, my children will not directly benefit from it. My son will be gone. But I still think, as a member of this community, that for all the reasons that Mark Perry described, it is good for the town. It really is a positive thing for Georgetown. And for those who think it's a luxury, it's not a luxury. Because my son, Patrick, has played for the past 2 years at Haverhill Stadium because he couldn't play here. So to me, it's not a luxury. It is part of something that we can bring to this community that we can all be proud of. And we do it through something like an open space for the CPC for recreational purposes. I think it's a good thing for the town. Thank you.
John Davis, 18 Pleasant Street. I'm the president of the Georgetown Athletic Association and the Synthetic Turf Advisory Committee. We've been working on this project for probably 3 or 4 years now. I think Mr. Morehouse said it properly. He said that we bought a lot of open space land over the years, and I saw George Kaminsky be the only guy really that bases here consistently that uses that property. This property will be used by up to 3,000 kids a year. I can't think of any better use of your tax dollars, that's CPC, not extra tax dollars, CPC money, you're already funding it, than to put it into that kind of bang for your buck, so to speak. The only people that really should be opposed to the projects like this is if you're all about open space, you want to buy more open space, then you may not want the money used from CPC dollars going toward a field project that are going to benefit thousands and thousands of kids and adults every year. This project is going to do that.
Thank you.
Jeff Wade, 27 Nelson Avenue. I want to direct a question to Harry or Jim. I don't know who's going to answer this, but there's a certain amount of money that's put aside each year for the different categories of the CPC. One is the open space active recreation. I want to know how much is going to be left after, if this gets passed, how much would be left each year through the bonding period of, say, 15 years?
I think that's part of the answer you gave on the other one.
Yes, Madam Moderator, you're absolutely correct. Under a 15-year bond scenario, essentially we would be able to make all our administrative reserve and reserves for each of the 3 categories. That's community housing, historic resources, and open space, and the administrative 5%. We will be making, we estimated approximately $50,000 installments for those reservations. In with the undesignated, after we pay the bond debt service, a 15-year note, we would still have $243,000, thereabouts, about $250,000 that could go toward open space or historic or yellow.
Okay.
So there is.
That's great. What I really wanted to know was.
Harry, have a seat. Questions can come in this direction, and we will get you an answer. This is not a discussion.
What I really want to know is if you have a certain amount of money each year that you can give out, a certain percentage has to go to historic, a certain percentage to open space, a certain percentage to whatever. This being the open space, big lumpy, as you said before, will that cut out entirely any other projects for the next 15 years having to do with open space? And if
Yes or
not,
no answer.
approximately how much per year is going to be available?
Yes or no?
May I answer that, Madam Moderator?
Yes.
Again, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna reiterate that we are able to make our 10% reservations in all of the categories. We're able to meet our debt load and the excess that we would be able to put towards any of the three categories with a 15-year bond is $243,000.
So the answer is no, it's not going to affect anything else.
That's going to be less than we normally would, but we'll pay a bond.
So
The
the
question
answer is no.
is $250,000 enough for it? I don't know.
Okay, who's next?
Yes, my name's Bernie Christie, 4506 Road.
Yep.
So we will talk about 250,000 at share will pay bonds. This is approved. How much do we generally have to account for CPC?
Okay, how much does the CPC account have?
Are you asking how much is in the account or how much do we generally receive in a year?
How much is in the account now, to start with?
We're around $2 million, but those numbers, we don't have, those are only appropriated.
Okay, those are things that are already in the works.
Yeah, they're sitting in the bank account because the checks are in the envelopes ready to be mailed.
Okay.
So to clarify, we generally have conservatively around $1 million in CPC, and after this we have about 250.
No. No.
Yeah, the amount of monies that we have in the fund right now are not in question. And really, I'm not going to avoid the question, but they really don't matter. They're all spoken for. Those monies have already been appropriated. What really does count in a bond scenario such as this is how much can you bond, how much can you borrow, and how much can you pay back. And the way that it works, the law won't let us take a bond that we can't pay back with just our local receipts. So the numbers that I was referring to are numbers that allow us to pay it back easily from our local receipts, and they presume one of the lowest state matches that we've ever received in history. And I can tell you right now, for us to receive no state match, that would mean you have to have zero activity at the registry of deeds, which means no mortgages, no houses for sale, no houses to be purchased, no recordings at all. If that happens, we don't have to worry about CPC.
Move the question, Madam Moderator.
Okay. I need a second. Second. I need a second. I need a 2/3 vote on ending the discussion and moving the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. It carries on the 2/3. Okay, who made the motion? Second. Jim Benton. Okay, who made the motion to move the question? Rusty. Okay. So this vote requires a 2/3. All in favor? Opposed? It's 2/3. That's passed by 2/3. We only had 5 more articles. If this room empties out and we do not maintain a quorum, none of your votes count. So, that's what we said. Article 26. I'm sorry, 28. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
I move to amend section 44-1 of the town's bylaws, community
Article 28 as printed in the town warrant.
Mayor, second. Robin, thank you. Report for Finance Advisory.
Finance Advisory Board recommends approval of this Article 6-0.
Can you explain what's happened with the change, basic two changes are?
Yes. The Finance Advisory Board wants to put this article forward to make some changes to the committee makeup. A number of years ago, when the CPC was enacted here in town, the board was made up of what was legally required by town of 7 members that we currently have. Over the years, we have spent, as Harry's indicated, funds, millions of dollars. And as tonight by previous 2 articles, we're doing bonding issues. So the Finance and Advisory Board really feels strongly that 2 more members should be added to this committee with the way we're going with CPC. Someone from the Finance and Advisory Board that brings a financial background that is also looking at the town's finances as a whole, and someone appointed by the Board of Selectmen who has no affiliation with what any boards that the CPC articles are going for. So a totally unbiased person. I think this would bring a complete balance to the board, and it really would be very, very important financially to have someone from our board on it, as we wish to have it for a number of years, and we're bringing it forward now.
Okay, any discussion? This requires a,
Madam Moderator, I'd just like to point out that the Community Preservation Committee was not consulted on this in any way, or this wasn't brought to their attention at any point in time. We neither recommend nor oppose this. I would like to point out, though, that there is a small problem with the way that this was put together. The original wording and the way that the CPC was designed was that the expiration of the terms of all of the members was staggered. In the same way the Senate, every 2 years, you take 1/3 out. The way the article is currently written, you're going to have, I believe it's June of 2015, half of the word gone, all at once.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other discussion? Yes?
One question with possible follow-up.
To the microphone, closer, and your
Chris
name.
Rich, 292 Maple Street. I have one question with some possible follow-up. Who appoints the CPC member?
Who appoints the CPC now?
The way I understand it, each individual one of these boards, for instance, the Affordable Housing Trust, we, that sit on the trust, designated one of our people to be on the trust. So each individual board that's represented here appoints their own people.
1 member from Conservation, 1 member from Planning Board, 1 member from Historical Commission, 1 member from Parks and Rec, 1 member from the Housing Authority, 1 member from Open Space Committee, and then 1 member from, those are the rest of the 2 changes. So it's
There are 3 changes.
different, a member from all of the different boards that would be involved with CPC members. Housing Authority and affordable housing. It's right there in the.
They're all listed right here on the
Next question. From my take, knowing the chairman as well as I do, the CPC in its present state has a fight more often than not to get it forward. By increasing it by 2 members, why do we think up to 9? Why do we think that's going to help trying to get it forward? We can't get it forward with 7 members. You really think we'll do it with 9? You really think we're going to get a quorum with 9?
Okay, anybody else?
Madam Chairman?
Yes, David.
David Circus, 2 Littles Hill Lane. I don't think the reason because we're worried about having a quorum is a reason not to do this. Honestly, we would do that with all boards if we worried about having a quorum. People can't show up to meetings, they should be voted off, and the other committee should put somebody else on this. They attend the meetings and do the work.
Okay.
I guess the question, Rob Brewer, 16 Chestnut Street, the question that just pops into my head is, why was CPC not engaged in the dialogue?
Okay, anybody else?
No.
All right, this requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed? Passes with a majority. Article 29.
Do I want me to send them anyway? I'm just wondering if we mistakenly missed J under,
No.
no?
No, we did it at A, G, and J. Okay, Article 29, senior citizen property tax abatement.
Madam Moderator, I move to increase the sum of money included in the overlay account from $10,000 to $15,000 for the purpose of providing senior citizen property tax work-off abatements for fiscal year 2014, which work-off abatement program is authorized by the town's acceptance of Mass General Laws, Section 59, I think I got that wrong, subsection 5K, thereby increasing the size of the program from 20 to 30 participants.
Thank you. Second? Robin? Report from the finance and moderator. Oh, they're keeping you busy, getting off this board. They're keeping you busy.
Finance and Advisory Board recommends approval of this article 5-0.
David, would you like to explain this?
Yeah, basically what we've done is we're trying to, in this article, add additional spots for seniors to help with their tax bills. We have work-off programs that Colleen coordinates for us, does a great job. And we wanted to expand that to give more people, seniors, opportunity to work off money off their tax bills. I mean, you know, we have increased taxes, obviously, so we're trying to help out seniors in this way. You know, and I wish it could be more. This is a start. It's an additional $5,000. Well spent, I think.
Any discussion? Requires majority. All in favor? Opposed? Opposed? Passes unanimous. Article 30.
Madam Moderator, I move to approve Article 30 as printed in the town law.
For a second. Chris. Report from the Finance and Advisory Board. Otherwise, leave it, gonna make more.
The Finance Advisory Board voted 5-0 for approval.
Thank you. Report from the Planning Board.
Madam Moderator, as we have been doing for the past, I believe, 4 years, we've been cleaning up some of the old subdivision roads that were never accepted by the town, but went through the subdivision process. We're ensuring that we receive the maximum amount of Chapter 90 funds for the highway repair. Essentially, this road, as well as the road in the next article, should have been approved, should have been accepted by the town many, many years ago, but these things fall through the cracks, and now we're cleaning it all up.
Okay. Requires a majority vote. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Article 31. This is, this is what I had. Where is Andy Road?
Happy Road is on the ledge.
Oh, okay. All right, the next one is Cedar Lane.
Madam Moderator, I move to approve Article 31 as printed in the town law.
Second from Chris. Report to Finance and Advisory Board. Last one.
Madam Moderator, the Finance Advisory Board approved this vote 5-0.
Thank you. Report to the Planning Board.
Madam Moderator, everything I said for Article 30, ditto.
Any discussion? It requires a majority. All in favor? Opposed?
Motion adjourned.
That is unanimous.
Motion to adjourn.